It is early morning in medieval England. Pale light spreads slowly across the fields as roosters crow and villagers begin to stir. There are no ticking clocks. Time lives in the sky, in sound, and in routine. In the still air, the distant ringing of a church bell carries across open land, calling the faithful to prayer and telling everyone else that a new day has begun. For most people in the Middle Ages, time was not measured in numbers. It was experienced. The day began with light and ended with darkness. Work followed the sun. Tasks started when there was enough light to see and slowed as shadows lengthened. Without artificial lighting, night placed natural limits on labor, travel, and social life. Time was not counted so much as recognized. People read the day by watching the sky. Morning, midday, and evening were understood by the sun's height and the movement of shadows along walls, hedges, and fields. A farmer in the fields did not need a clock. The land itself marked the passing of hours. These were not hours in the modern sense, but signals that ordered daily life. Even those far from the church could hear time passing. Morning bells signaled the start of activity. Midday bells marked a pause in work. Evening bells told people that darkness was approaching and labor should end. Smoke drifted from chimneys. Footsteps slowed. Voices softened as the day closed. The sound of the bell carried authority, keeping communities in rhythm with one another. Time also changed with the seasons. Medieval hours were not fixed lengths. In summer, daylight stretched long. In winter, it shortened quickly. An hour in June lasted far longer than an hour in December. Time expanded and contracted with the sun. Life followed the agricultural year. Spring was for plowing and planting. Winter turned life inward, focused on warmth, repair, and survival. Time returned each year in familiar patterns. Religion shaped this rhythm further. The year followed the church calendar: Advent, Christmas, Lent, Easter, and many saints' days. These determined when people worked, rested, fasted, celebrated, or traveled. The calendar mattered more than the clock. Markets added another rhythm. Weekly market days structured movement and trade. Annual fairs became markers in memory. Years were often remembered by events rather than dates. When more precise timekeeping was needed, simple tools were used. Sundials tracked daylight. Candles and water clocks helped churches and monasteries measure prayer intervals, especially at night. These tools were practical rather than exact. For most people, timekeeping remained a natural skill: watching light, listening for bells, sensing routine. Mechanical clocks appeared late in the medieval period, mounted on church towers or civic buildings. They were rare and often unreliable. Most people never owned a timepiece. Time belonged to the community, not the individual. Night was a different world. Candles were expensive and fires burned low. Night was for rest, prayer, and quiet conversation, not productivity. Travel made time feel uncertain. Away from familiar bells and routines, travelers relied on the sky to judge the hour. In darkness, time lost its clarity. Life moved at the pace of footsteps and daylight, not schedules. Time in medieval life was flexible, local, and deeply human. People did not rush from appointment to appointment. They spoke of time in terms of events: at first light, after Mass, by evening. Time was not something medieval people chased. It was something they lived within. Days were shaped by light, sound, season, and routine. Time passed slowly, but it carried meaning rather than urgency. Here on the British Way, we explore history, places, and everyday life through calm, reflective films.